Hey friends, Henry here. The racist mass murderer who went on a rampage in Buffalo, New York, made reference to white replacement theory. And that idea isn't new. The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald is considered one of the greatest works of literature. But whether by coincidence or by design, I decided to read it 2 days ago. And right there in the first chapter, I came across the character Tom Buchanan. And of course, if you've read it or watched the movie, you know who the character is. But let me just read something that Tom Buchanan said in that chapter, in that first chapter. Civilizations going to pieces, broke out Tom violently. I've gotten to be a terrible pessimist about things. Have you read The Rise of the Colored Empires by this man Goddard? Well, it's a fine book and everybody ought to read it. The idea is if we don't look out, the white race will be submerged. It's all scientific stuff. It's been proved. Well, these books are all scientific. This fellow has worked out the whole thing. It's up to us who are the dominant race to watch out, or these other races will have control of things. This idea is that we're Nordics. I am and you are and you are, and after an infinitesimal hesitation, he included Daisy with a slight nod. And we've produced all the things that go to make civilization. Oh, science, art, and all that. Do you see? Now, take note, this story was first published in 1925, and that was about 4 years after the Tulsa Wall Street massacre. So the prevailing sentiment among certain segments of the society was that the so-called lesser races were going to replace the so-called dominant race. Yet, by every objective measure, their actions were more animalistic and less human. Despite his wealth, despite his power, Tom Buchanan felt like he was the victim, like he was a victim. And this is the same rhetoric that many wealthy and powerful folks in present-day America are spewing today. This is why I think literature is important. It is able to interpret the nature and character of an ideology and then give a face, a human representation, someone that can show us what these ideologies would be like when they take root in the mind of the average Joe, or Joanna as the case may be. Let's take Daenerys Targaryen from the Game of Thrones. Many people were kind of rooting for her, but I was a bit skeptical. Not a bit, I was a lot skeptical. The mind that believes that it has a divine right to rule is the mind that breeds tyranny. No one can hold that mind accountable. No one can hold that person accountable but the perceived divine. If we look around us, there are so many folks, there are so many Daenerys we have here. Folks who will burn down a city to make a point. Let thousands die to please their followers, to please their base. The book The Roots, the novel The Roots by Alex Haley helped us to experience slavery through the eyes of Kunta Kinte. It was easier to consume than it would have been if it was in a textbook or a discussion in a hardcore history class. In this information age, some folks don't even want to discuss certain topics in certain spaces. It hurts their sensibilities, they say. And though I am tempted to believe that presenting such topics in a more palatable fashion might help, I wonder if those sensitive folks even read. Not because they couldn't, but because they wouldn't. I have heard very literate people say things like, reading is not my thing. And no prophet, no sage will approve of that mindset. But a lot of people seem to relish being in that state. Something about this time in existence feels somewhat dystopian. But man is nothing without hope. I just decided to do this short video when I came across this book. when I read this, The Great Gatsby again. So like, subscribe, share this video, and let's continue the discussion.